Welcome to App Design Tips. This video is part of a free complete icon design tutorial. If you want to follow along, you can download the exercise files using the link in the description below. Alright, I hope that design challenge was enjoyable for you. To see how I designed this icon and if you ran into any hurdles, we're going to go ahead and walk through this step by step. So I'm going to zoom into this car here, and I'll go ahead and start designing. First of all, I think I want to start off with an 8 pixel square. I think I like that a little bit better. And now I can select this image. I'm just going to size this a little bit here so that I have 2 squares on the left, 2 squares on the right. And this bumper right here will sit about like that, and I think that'll be a good start. Now, the first thing I want to do is just create some shapes. So I'm going to create a rectangle. I'll create the first one maybe here. And I want this to have a red border just so I can see it against this drawing here. And I'm going to make this drawing a little bit transparent just so my shapes stand out for me. Now, there's a number of ways you can create shapes. I can create a new rectangle here, just like this. But to preserve the properties that I've already set, I'm just going to copy and paste this shape and then resize this down here. And now we have that nice little size. I'm going to hold down Option or Alt on Windows, and let's drag down here for our bumper. And I want to resize this. I might want to add, let's say, 4 pixels on each side, so 96 plus 8. And that's one nice thing is you can do some math inside of here. So I'll hit Return. And now I want to just center this with the artboard, and that's looking pretty good. And now we want our tires right here. And I actually think I want them a little bit wider than that. So I'll give it, let's say, 16 pixels wide. I think that looks a little bit better. And even though we're starting off from this square, I'm going to just nudge this 1, 2, 3, 4 pixels. I'll bring this over here and nudge this 1, 2, 3, 4 pixels that way. If you ever want to copy design properties from one shape to another, for example, we have this red border here, and we've got a gray border here, we can copy any shape, and then if we select any other shapes, we can hold down Option Command V, and we can paste those same borders and fills styles. So now that that's done, I want to create the top of this car here. We can do it like so. And now using our Select tool, I can double click and move this corner here inward, and this one here inward as well. And again, I want to paste Option Command V or Alt Command V on the windows. And I'm just going to take a look at things here, see how it looks. So for right now, I'm going to hide my grid, and I'm going to hide my image. And we can see that the shape of that car, it looks pretty weird to me. So even though I started off with the grid here, I want to just move things around. So I might want this to be not quite as tall here. And let's shape this here to be a little bit taller. That can start to feel a little bit more like a car's shape. And this tire here, now it looks a little bit too wide, so I'm going to hold down Option or Alt to resize this, and 12 pixels is nice. I think I like that. And I'm just going to delete this on this side. And another good trick with Adobe XD is if you select any object and you hold down Option, you can see the spacing between items. So this is 22 pixels here from the artboard. So I can simply hold down Option or Alt, click and drag this over here, and then see that this is 27 pixels. So I'm going to nudge it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pixels over here, and that's looking really good. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That might look a little bit better. And right now, all these strokes are inwards. We're not going to use these strokes, but just for better reference, I'm going to use this tool here to center the stroke, just so it looks a little bit cleaner. And now we can turn our car image back on just to see how things are starting to look. I'll move this down a little bit. And we want to put in this windshield now. So I'm going to select this shape, copy and paste, and now I can double click to grab these two corners. And I'm going to move this in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 6 pixels. I'm going to bring these over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm going to bring this down 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now again, when you do that, you have to select each one of these nodes. Just make sure these lines feel parallel. So that looks good there. And one thing I haven't shown you yet that's a really nice trick in Adobe is these rectangles, you can actually round the corners here if you'd like. So I'm going to keep them straight, and then if I zoom in, I can hold down Option as I'm dragging on this circle just to give this a 2 pixel corner radius. And you can also see these corner radiuses here that I'm changing. So if I select on this shape, I can go over here, click on this independent radiuses here, and starting from the top left, this is 0, 0, and then I can select 2 at the bottom right and 2 at the bottom left. So that's how corner radiuses work, and that'll be a nice effect for the tire, I think. Okay, so let's finish this off here. I want to create these headlights, so I'm going to create it the same width as these tires. And so let's move this up right here about. Holding down Option, I can move this and align that right with these tires. And now I want to create a rectangle right here that is the same height. And we'll make this 32 pixels wide, and we'll center this with the artboard. And lastly, we've got some packages here on the top of our car. So I'm going to just drag those, and again, I might want to turn on my grids just so I can have nicely sized packages. Let's do that. And then one more up here. And then the last rectangle here that's going to tie those packages together. And we'll give that a 6 pixels width and center that. And so I believe I have most of my shapes in here. Oh, the last ones are these glass streaks. So I'm going to just create a rectangle like so. And now I can double click inside of here and just move these top corners over here just to make this glass look like it has a streak on it. And if I click away and then click and hold down Option, I can drag this over here. Let's do something like this. And I'm going to grab just these two left corners and make this a little bit wider. So I think we have all the components that make up this icon. So I can hide this now. I can select all of these objects. And first thing I actually want to do is make this have the same border, have it be center aligned. And so for right now, let's look at how we can color these objects. First, I want my car to be orange. So I'm going to select this top part and this bottom part. I can merge those together, and I can remove the border, and let's give this an orange fill. And it's looking ugly right now, but believe me, it's going to look much better. Now, we know that this windshield right here is going to be blue, so let's remove this border, and let's give this a blue windshield look. And these streaks right here, remember we set opacity for shadows, but in this case, we're going to remove the border, and we're going to keep this white, but if we turn down the opacity just a little bit, 60%, it'll give it a nice streak look. Now we have the top trim here that we want to be this nice red color, and as I'm doing this, I'm going to remove this square just so we can start to see how simple things are becoming. And we can make these headlights just white, I think. We can give this a nice silvery look, something like this. And let's give this bumper, let's make it gray, remove the border. And here we actually might want to have rounded corners here as well. So something like this I think looks good. And then our tires, we can have starting out with the same color, but maybe let's darken that a little bit. Tires are usually a little bit darker. And then remember, we can select the colors here, but if we want to adopt any colors that we're already using, we can adopt this color by copying the shape, selecting on this present, and holding down Option Command V. Let's do the same thing here. Copy, copy. And another thing that we can do, this is something that we haven't used yet, but we can use this eyedropper right here to just find other colors like this tire and adopt that color. So you can see we've used a lot of rectangles in this design and 2 circles, and now we have a really nice complex shape. We want to just clean some things up here, make sure that things align the way they're supposed to. I'm going to move this down right here. There we go. And I may want these to be a little bit rounded as well, so I'm going to come over here and just give this a 2 pixel, maybe 1. And I may want to move this up just 1 pixel right here. And now the last thing to do is just to zoom out and see how it all looks. And it's starting to come together real nicely. Now we want to create a circle just like we've done with the other icon. Let's create a circle that's 128 by 128. Let's give this a green fill and bring this to the back in our layers. And then we can select all the objects in our icon. Let's group this, Command G or Control G on the windows. And again, we can resize, which will look weird unless we hold down Shift, and then I'll hold down Option to constrain this to the center. And now we just center this right in with the circle. And now if we zoom out here and we compare this with our map, let's bring the map over here. We can see the sizes look really nice, the colors look really nice, and they look like they belong in the same icon set. Very lastly, I'm going to create my shadow. So real quick, I'll just do something about like this. And we'll move this around. About like that. And if you want to make it like absolutely 45 degrees, maybe what I'll try here is just creating a square first, rotating this square 45 degrees, and let's just move this around something like this. I think that'll be okay, and then I can move this out. And so this can be our shadow. Just gonna double click here, bring this up right here. And now I want to copy this circle and paste and grab these 2 objects and use this boolean tool just to have this shadow shape. I'm going to turn this black and give it a 20% opacity and move this down right in front of the circle. Now if I want to make this shadow casting a little bit more accurate, I could come in here and create more nodes. Again, we talked about converting this path to an outline, which you can do with Command 8 or Control 8. I'm going to convert this path, and now if I double click on it, I can select a stroke right here, and also a stroke right here. Just move this shadow and make it look a little bit more realistic that way. So that's how I would design the icon. Now there's not really a wrong way to do it, as long as it looks good. In the end, you can use a series of shapes. You can do it just using the pen tool if you wanted. So there are a number of ways that we can come to this kind of a solution. But if the end product looks somewhat like this, I think you've succeeded. Now there's one thing I almost forgot here. In a lot of our icon sets, we have the right half a little bit more shaded than the left half. And so what we want to do with this icon, if I hold down Option and just drag this over here, I want to create a shadow here, but we have a lot of combined shapes. So I'm going to ungroup this using Shift Command G, or Shift Control G on the Windows. And I'm just going to try to click on this bullion tool here just to combine this into one complete shape, and that's what I want. Now I want to create a rectangle and just match just the center of this icon right here, and just want to show you kind of what I'm doing here. So now that I've done that, I can select these two shapes and subtract one side from the other, and now I can bring this back in, align it with this, and I can use this as that shadow on the right. So if I make this black, I can increase or decrease the shading at whatever depth that I want. I want to keep it at 20 pixels, and now that gives it just a lot more depth. And even with this shadow, if I double click and double click again, I have access to all of the shapes, the dozens of shapes that we created for this icon. I have access to all that, but it appears to be just one simple shape that I can use as shading. If you're enjoying this free icon design tutorial, I have a complete course on learning Adobe XD for UI UX design. You can find a link in the description below with a steep discount included for my YouTube fans. This course will cover everything from learning the Adobe XD interface to designing and prototyping an entire app from start to finish.